We're back, people, and today we got the first 2025 mock draft of the season for the Miami Dolphins, doing a 7-rounder. Gonna go through, go best player available, BPA, with, sort of that thought in mind of like, hey, if I got close rankings between two players, then I'll lean towards position of need. I think that's like the best way to do it. You just take best player available. If there's a clear best, you take him. If it's close, you got to have that discussion. So that's what we're gonna go through here and do. First 13 here. Off the board. Started with Sanders, Hunter, Cam Ward, some good stuff here. I think a pretty normal draft. I think some guys went maybe earlier than expected, but nothing too crazy. Like Pierce and Squirtin probably wouldn't go before the Dolphins pick, but we have a pretty normal board here. I think one guy who probably is like the one that's maybe you didn't expect here is Will Johnson. I'm going to have, this will be who we discuss, I think, at 13. If we look through this sort of list right here is one Johnson. I think Ravel would be in the conversation if he didn't have the injury. And then Warren, Banks. I think you could discuss Burden as well, but I think Jalen Walker is a good shout. He's actually one of the guys I really like for the Dolphins at 13 if he actually falls. Because, name of the game, you watch that Super Bowl, name of the game is players that can be disruptive. And Walker is one of those guys. And he does it with a versatile skill set, and he would be an instant impact player for Miami. Johnson, I think the reason I'm not going to go Will Johnson here is, one, I have guys that are ranked very closely to him, like Tyler Warren and Jalen Walker, and I think those are bigger positions of need. And for me, Johnson, the reason I don't have him as high as maybe, some people in this draft is he's not the greatest, press man-to-man corner. He's a very good off-man and zone corner. He's aggressive. He'll get some picks, but he takes a lot of chances. I just think there's some question marks to his game when it comes to man-to-man. He gets beat on double moves from time to time. For me to want to take a corner here, it'd have to be someone, really good. Same reason I'm probably not going to go Banks here, even though people want to go O-line. I actually think most O-line at this spot in the draft are kind of reaches. And Campbell's gone, and he's the one I would consider over Banks. I would actually probably even take Armand Membo over Banks here. I have question marks when it comes to Banks' balance. I think balance is such an important athletic trait for offensive linemen. I do like his athleticism outside of that, and he has some movement skills. He can play tackle, guard. He's a guy that, plays with some physicality as well, but there's some question marks I think come to his game when it comes to technique, and they helped him a lot at Texas, with their scheme, and that would be the same at Dolphins. So he would get helped a lot as well. But to me, guys that have struggled with balance and got a lot of help in college with how they were jump setting and stuff like that, I have question marks. So me, it would come down to Warren or Walker, who are both players I have rated in the top 10 of this draft class, and PFN, we're doing the PFN mock simulator. They have them at 15 and 19, which isn't, too bad. These are both players I could see being gone, but I think it's realistic that they're here as well. So Dolphins are gonna have options. I still think it's a little early for Burden and Booker. Those wouldn't be bad picks either, but just a little early for me. I think Warren makes an instant impact as a Y tight end, and he impacts similarly how Walker would impact the defense. Warren would impact the offense in all facets. I even think more so when it comes to the passing game. Clearly, it's not like he needs to be targeted a ton, but he's a guy that you can get the ball underneath. He can work physically, but he also can be a red zone threat. Dolphins need guys that can be red area threats, converters, and I think Warren's one of those guys. I still think he can make an impact on short yardage situations. He's played Wildcat QB. I think he's a guy that you could put under center if you want to do the tush push. He could be that guy for you, so that would help short yardage. So that's another area where that helps. And then just as a Y tight end overall, Dolphins need to get better at blocking up front, and I think Y tight end, Durham Smythe and Julian Hill, were just as big of problems to the offense as the guards were. So that's why, I know people are how do you not take O-line or, D-line get bigger? Warren is kind of part of that solution, but he also makes even a more all-around impact because this type of player is so important in the McDaniel system. So I'm going to go Tyler Warren here. We'll see how the rest of this sort of draft falls around. Some interesting players going off the board, going a little bit later than expected, but something solid going on. I'm not going to do trades because trades are, kind of messed up, but damn, okay. Well, okay, this is a spot where I don't see all of these players being on the board. But one, Derek Harmon. They have Harmon pretty high. I like Harmon. I'm probably not going to go Harmon from Oregon. He's like a 3-tech. Let's see what they have written on him. Yeah, he's 6'5", 310, moves really well. I have him as a late second guy, so they have him at 23, so that's a little high for me. For me, this comes down to these three. I'm not going to consider Milrow. I I just don't like the QBs in this class. I would only take one if they fell farther than expected. At this point, Grant, Watts, and Stewart. I really like Watts at 48. I think Watts is a very realistic option, but I just don't think... I think Grant and Stewart will be ranked higher for me, and I think both guys could easily go first round, while Watts, I think, is like a really just solid second round realistic option. You can look around, offense, defense. Very interesting, but I think this comes down to Stewart or Grant. Let's look at offensive linemen. So yeah, I don't love the O-line here. I probably would wait potentially on the O-line. See, that's, kind of a tough part, so that's why you would hope you took care of offensive line in free agency. This is why you got to take best player available, because I'm not going to, pass on Kenneth Grant or Shamar Stewart, who could be potential game wreckers on the defense, to get, like, a solid guard in Wyatt Milum, because to me, these guys are clear cut above Milum, even though I do like Wyatt Milum. It's just these guys are clearly ahead. Now, Kenneth Grant is the big body D tackle that's, what is he listed at here? He's 6'3", 340, and he should not be able to move as well as he does. Very good run defender. I think there's some things he needs to work on as a pass disruptor. Now, I do think Stewart is a freak. I think he's I think these are two of the biggest freaks in the class. Because he's 6'5", 280, and he's a guy that can play edge for you. But also could be like a 5 technique. Yeah, they mentioned here 5 tech and like a 3-4 defensive end type. Could go into the interior. He is a huge disruptor. I think I would actually... Because I think Stewart could come in and he'd be a strong run defender at the edge and potentially on the interior, but I also think he would make more of an impact as a pass rusher as well. Just maybe more disruptive. Like, he still needs to work on his moves, but both guys kind of have some things they would need to work on. It's just, I don't think I see Stewart following this far. Grant, I think there's a chance, but I think I would have to lean Stewart in this situation, even though it's not as big of a need, but he's a guy that can play multiple spots for you, so that's why it definitely helps out. So let's see how this plays out. We get down to 98. Top guys, don't really love who they've got listed here, so we're going to look through. They got RBs, QBs. I'm probably not going there in this direction. Receiver, don't love that. Already took tight end, so that's not necessarily a need. Now, here's where you could go O-line. You got guards. Yeah, I mean, not some bad players here at guard. I'm not going to go center. I think at tackle, you could consider Charles Grant here, because he's someone who could potentially play maybe guard. He's a William & Mary guy. Very athletic, very good scheme fit, I think, for Miami. And then defensively, D-tackle, probably would wait. We just took edge, so we don't need to go there. Linebacker could go Schlesinger. Schlesinger is a beast. Really like what Schlesinger, plays like here. But don't actually love the options that fell to this area. So I think since we need O-line and he's a guy that can potentially play tackle and guard, super good scheme fit athletically. They haven't ranked at 130. I think he could go back into... I think he is like a third round, fourth round player, and this is a 98 is basically on that third to fourth round edge. So I think I'm going to go Charles Grant just because the board didn't fall exactly how you wanted. So you kind of take the swing there at a guy that has super high upside, but also fits within the scheme. And then you don't pick too far later anyway, so... roll into this. See what they got. And then this is where I think you take Schlesinger, because Schlesinger, I think, is actually not super unrealistic here. And to me, I have Schlesinger as the second best linebacker, but he's a little undersized. Sometimes the guys fall. I think you throw this at Schlesinger, because I think you get a starter at linebacker next to Jordan Brooks. And yeah, he's a super athlete, super instinctive. He makes an impact as a blitzer. I love Schlesinger in this class. I'm taking him there all day. So far, we can look at what we've got. We've taken tight end, edge, tackle, just O-line in general, then linebacker. Really, some solid players like right here. This is a tough one, because everyone knows I love Jack Besh. Jack Besh is one of my favorite players in this class, and I think he would be such an impactful guy on offense. This would really depend on free agency. If the Dolphins took care of D-line in free agency, I would go Jack Besh here for sure. But if they didn't go Besh, I think I would go Caldwell. But as I said, I really like Caldwell, and I would probably... as I've been saying, you got to go best player available, and I just have Besh as a better player, and I got him a round ahead of Caldwell, so it's at least a clear cut in my mind. And I think Besh and Warren are two physical players. Besh is a former tight end in LSU. These are guys that could help change your style of offense. Like, yes, they're both guys who will catch the ball, but they're both guys who could be involved as blockers. They'll make you more physical. They're also reliable third down chain movers, which is huge, and guys that can be red zone threats. And while Caldwell's a beast, and I think he'll be a good player, he is going to be more of a, you know, 2-down run stuffing option early on in his career. He'll be a guy that would be like your Benito Jones replacement. And like, yes, that is a guy you would take at day 3 usually. I think you get more just of that impact. You would get like a guy who would make a bigger impact in year 1. But we get to 151. I forgot we had a pick right after. So like they have 135 to 1. They have a lot of picks in a row here, like 98 to 150. So like they have 4 picks in around a 50 range area. And then we go Caldwell here. You could even go Phillips. Both nose guys that are explosive, move well. I really like Caldwell. I have a video coming out on him soon. So, because he's 6'2", 340. So, like, he is a dense player, tough to move. But, like, yeah, as I mentioned, his first step, he's got that leverage because he's a little bit shorter, but he's also thick. And that first step he has for his size is ridiculous. Going Caldwell here because he's an instant impact player. And then we got another one, like 156 right after. Might as well just boom. Go there. We're just getting some pretty good. I'm gonna wait on if we go quarterback. I've talked about it. If you don't get like the quarterback at the top that you really want, I'm pretty much ignoring quarterback until like the 6th or 7th round range. Running back is interesting. Don't necessarily need to go there. We just went receiver. You could double up on tight end, maybe. Probably wait on that if that's the direction we want to go. Any pure guards here at this point? Ooh. Kind of want to go even consider Lampkin there. Could double up on D-line. We got edge already. We got linebacker. Could potentially double up there. Do we go any safeties here? See, the safety... This is what's tough with safety. It's like, I've done these mocks a few times. I think you got to get, like... This is like the one area I've done on the mocks where it feels like I end up ignoring it. Is we filled up a lot of needs except safety. So you might need to get some safeties in free agency or you have to take safety like 2nd or 3rd round. Because once you get past that, you're like getting back end safeties. I don't love the safety value in like the 4th and 5th from what I've seen so far. So I'm just gonna go to the top of this and potentially take best player that I would have available here. Let me scroll down a bit just in case. I guess we could just name of the game, nowadays. It's getting more disruptive and powerful up front. So we're gonna go Jordan Phillips, back-to-back D lineman that can be a part of a rotation. I think would be year 1 impacts. And now this is where it takes a while because I don't believe the Dolphins pick until the 7th. Yeah, so we pass up on some people there. Some interesting names here. This is where like it's gonna be like, oh, I don't know every player available, just because that's kind of how it goes. I haven't watched all of these players. I think once you get here, like Cody Simon, Ohio State linebacker, they don't have anything written on him, but like potential impact special teams guy. You can double up on linebacker. He could be a part of the rotation. This is where you truly just go like best player available. Could go QB now. I like the Louisville quarterback Tyler Shuck. Like this guy is a gamer. Was one of the best quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl. He makes some like off script sidearm throws that are very fun. Like I think there's something there to work with him, and that's when I'm like, okay, throw a dart at one of the quarterbacks. And I believe this is the final pick. We've kind of ignored a lot of spots. We didn't go safety, so I think you just throw a dart at safety here. And then for some reason, okay, this is unrealistic. I always forget PFN has Jonas Sinker ranked so low. I have Jonas Sinker ranked in like that 3rd to 4th round range from Virginia. He's a good player, and I actually think like he's a guy that could make an impact year 1. So if you get him here in your last pick, because he's got, what's his size? He's 6 foot 206, so like solid size. He's a solid athlete. He's a very good open field tackler. He's instinctive. He doesn't have like any elite traits, but he's just very solid to good in a lot of areas as a football player. So like you go Sinker there, you run to the end of the draft, and then you got this. So you kind of ignored safety, but you get lucky later on. Sometimes players fall farther than expected. You get a starting linebacker. You get a guy that would be a part of your depth rotation at linebacker as well with Cody Simon. So potential there with linebacker. You get really physical up front. So like if you get Stewart at 48, you don't need to have Chubb on the team because he would replace Chubb, but also could give you some inside snaps unlike those situations where you have Chop and Phillips on the outside, because Stewart is so big that he can literally just play as an interior defensive lineman on certain plays. Warren, potential, game changer on offense, while also kind of potentially changing your style and culture. Same with Besh. Grant is sort of like that outside zone style offensive lineman. I think this is the one area I would have liked to go more at is O-line. But that's why, I don't think it's the strongest O-line draft. And this is what happens when I do a lot of mocks, is there's not a lot of, good value at the offensive line position. So that's why I really want to attack O-line in free agency. So that's, the one area I would have liked. That O-line and safety. But you got way better at D-line and linebacker. Tight end and receiver, your bigger bodies guys, that's, filled out that room. And you got just super more physical up front on the defense side of the ball, which is, I think, how you kind of game wreck the system. But Dolphins have so many needs. That's why they need to kill free agency and the draft, because there's just positions that you're not going to be able to hit every single one that you want as much as you need in this draft. So if you guys know the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get started.